It happened on a cool autumn night in rural Virginia, the kind of night where the air feels heavy and every sound seems sharper than it should be. The woods behind the house stretched for miles, a dense sprawl of oak and pine that locals respected more than they feared. People hunted there, hiked there, even camped there. But everyone knew there were places you didn't go after dark, and that night would prove why. The witness, who asked to remain anonymous, had lived near those woods for most of his life. He knew the rhythms of the forest intimately, the chirping of crickets, the distant calls of owls, the rustle of deer moving through the underbrush. Silence was rare, and when it came, it usually meant something was very wrong. That night, just after 11 p.m., he stepped onto his back porch to let his dog out, unaware that the woods were about to fall completely quiet. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The moon was half full, casting pale light through the treetops, and a light fog hovered close to the ground. His dog froze at the edge of the yard, ears pinned back, refusing to move. Then the sound stopped. No insects, no wind, no distant wildlife. It was as if someone had thrown a switch and shut the forest off entirely. The silence pressed against his ears so hard it felt physical. That was when he noticed movement near the tree line. About 40 yards out, something was standing near an old, twisted tree that had been struck by lightning years earlier. At first, he assumed it was a person. The shape was tall, unnaturally tall, but vaguely humanoid. What made his stomach drop was the way it blended into the tree itself, as if it were part of the bark and shadows rather than standing in front of them. As his eyes adjusted, the details became clearer, and far more disturbing. The being wasn't standing beside the tree. It was in the tree. Its body appeared elongated and contorted, limbs stretched along the trunk and branches at impossible angles. The skin, if it could be called that, looked textured like rough bark, dark and mottled. It didn't move the way animals do. Instead, it seemed to shift subtly, like wood expanding and contracting. Then it turned its head. The motion was slow and deliberate, accompanied by a faint cracking sound, like branches bending under pressure. Its face was wrong. There were no clear features at first, just a hollowed shape. Then two reflective points opened where eyes should be, catching the moonlight and locking directly onto him. He described the sensation as being noticed, rather than seen, like something had become aware of him in a deeply personal way. His dog whimpered and tried to retreat back into the house, claws scraping against the deck. That sound seemed to trigger something. The being's posture changed, peeling itself slightly away from the tree. Long limbs unfolded with stiff, unnatural precision. The silence deepened, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over him, so intense that his legs felt weak. He wanted to scream, to run, to do anything, but he couldn't move. His body felt frozen, as if the air itself had thickened around him. The being didn't rush or lunge. It simply watched. He became acutely aware of his own breathing, loud and uneven, and the pounding of his heart. The eyes never blinked. Then, without warning, it began to climb. Not up or down, but around the tree, spiraling in a way that defied gravity. Its limbs wrapped and unwrapped with mechanical precision, never snapping a branch, never disturbing the bark. It moved with the confidence of something that belonged there, something that had done this countless times before. As it climbed, a low sound filled the air, not a growl or a voice, but a vibration, felt more in the chest than heard with the ears. At that moment, the paralysis broke. He grabbed his dog and stumbled backward into the house, slamming the door shut and locking it. Every light in the house came on. He stood there shaking, listening, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Minutes passed, then hours. The vibration stopped. Gradually, the sounds of the forest returned, as if nothing had happened at all. By morning, there was no physical evidence. No broken branches, no tracks. The tree looked exactly as it always had. But the feeling lingered. The woods no longer felt neutral or familiar. They felt occupied. In the days that followed, strange things continued. His dog refused to go outside at night, even on a leash. Motion-activated cameras placed facing the woods malfunctioned repeatedly, their footage corrupted or missing during the late-night hours. Neighbors mentioned hearing odd creaking sounds from the forest, like trees shifting when there was no wind. He began researching, trying to understand what he had seen. Folklore from the region spoke of ancient forest entities, guardians or predators tied to the land itself. Some Native American stories described beings that mimic trees, watching silently and punishing those who trespassed too far or too carelessly. Cryptid researchers would later suggest possibilities ranging from an unknown arboreal creature to something far less explainable. What unsettled him the most wasn't fear, it was certainty. The certainty that the being hadn't been surprised by him. It had been waiting, watching, and that night, for reasons he may never understand, it chose to reveal itself. He no longer steps outside after dark. The woods still stand behind the house, quiet and imposing, but now he knows the silence has meaning. Because when the forest goes silent, something is listening.